J&T Outdoors. Today we're going to talk about the buck I shot in 2020, the buck we call Tall Boy. Let's get right into it. Now, this story really starts at the end of the 2019 hunting season where I shot this buck. Now, I shot this buck the last day of season, the last 30 minutes of the 2019 hunting season. I had been hunting for 4 months through the bugs, through the heat, to the extreme colds, winds, pretty much anything, any weather you can think of. And it came all the way down to the wire. And what basically comes down to is I got lucky. I got lucky, and the graces of God allowed me to get this buck. I don't know why. I was thinking about shooting a doe, but I waited and I waited and I waited, and I finally got a buck. At the end of the hunting season, I told myself I would not be unprepared again, that I would use the off season coming up to really grind out, to really embrace the grind, and to be better prepared for the 2020 hunting season. So it really starts in 2019. So fast forward into April. So April, I decided I was going to put some mineral blocks out, some trophy rocks, and we actually did a video about that earlier. I decided I was going to put out some trophy rocks, and that's exactly what I did. I put some trophy rocks out, and then I put some trail cameras on it, and I said, yep, we're going to check them once a month and see what happens, see what comes of it. The hunting spot I knew had really good potential. I had never scouted it really hard, but this year was different. I wanted it, and I wanted it bad. So going in there, I knew there was really high potential for some decent bucks. And fast forward a month goes by, work is really busy, so I only got certain periods of time where I can go check them, and disaster struck. I went out and I checked my trail cameras, and when I got home, plugged my SD card into my computer. I get very excited, At this time it's May. It's early May, so I knew there wasn't going to be very much antler growth, but I knew there was going to be at least some nubs, and see if there's much deer activity going on. Well, turns out I had bought the wrong SD card for my trail cameras, so here I thought I was collecting all these pictures, when in reality I got no pictures. Zero. It's heartbreaking. I couldn't believe it. So, kicking myself, I go to Walmart and I look and I buy the correct SD cards. So I go back out, I put them out, and I wait another month. And I actually checked my trail cameras with my good friend Nate Quatier. Shout out to Nate. He actually didn't get a buck this last year, so we ought to give him some crap about that so he gets his butt in gear for this coming season. Anyways, I'm just giving him a little bit of grief. But anyways, Nate and I went and we set up his cameras and we checked my cameras, and we got back to his house, plugged the SD card in. I was holding my breath this time, and I was like, oh, I really hope this works. It worked last time, but now I have PTSD from it. But there was a bunch of pictures, lots and lots and lots of pictures, and this was not a very expensive camera, so it took pictures of anything and every piece of blade of grass that moved, any twig that moved, anything. So we scrolling through thousands of pictures, and we're scrolling through, and all of a sudden, boom, here it is. It's really big buck, and I'll pull up a picture in the video and show you. Big 4x4 in velvet, just looks absolutely huge. Looks 150 plus. I was just gunning for it. I was so excited. I was so pumped, and I was getting a whole bunch of pictures of him on my one rock furthest east of the property. and it was nighttime. It just looked huge, and I was so excited. I almost jumped out of my seat when I saw them. It was like I was like a kid on Christmas, I like to say. And we got probably 30 pictures in that one setting of him licking on the rock and just dinking around, and then he goes back off, and I'm so excited. I check my other 2 cameras, and I have no pictures of him on those other 2 cameras. So already I'm thinking, I gotta go hard at this. I gotta shoot this deer. I gotta get him mounted. I'm thinking so far ahead of myself, and I needed to take a second back and go, well, we don't even know if we're gonna have him on trail camera anymore. So fast forward another month. Check the trail cameras again. I'm super excited. I'm hoping this deer is gonna be there, and sure enough, he's there. But he's not just there. He's on all 3 of my trail cameras. So I knew then. It was the end of July. I knew then. Or it was the end of June. I knew then that this buck, we have really good potential of getting this buck. He's staying on property, and the reason we called him Tall Boy was because of his really tall tines. He also hung around another buck that we consistently got pictures of with him, and we called him Bush. So it was Bush and Tall Boy. Take that how you want it. I think it's a good name, good Midwest buck name. I liked it. I thought it was funny, fun, whatever you want to call it. But so we had him named Tall Boy. It matched the features on his antlers, and it had a fun little twist to it. But so going into July, we were getting pictures of him constantly too, and getting closer to August, I knew I had to really narrow it down to pattern him good. So I knew I had to give myself the best opportunity to shoot this buck. And I had recently bought a new tree stand setup, a hang and hunt setup, to really help me out. And I knew I could get into a lot of spots with that tree stand setup. So I had a very good opportunity coming in September. And so August comes, and we're consistently finding his pattern. He likes to come out in the morning and eat in the cornfield, and we knew exactly where he was coming out at by the consistent pictures we were getting. And it was a consistent spot. It was like a deer highway in that property. It is coming out of bedding ground into out of a tree grove into the corner of a cornfield where they'd go and eat throughout the night, throughout the morning, and then they would go back through that route to go back to their bedding ground. Well, I knew what I had to do. I was going to set up on that corner on a tree, and this tree was really small. And typically, I will give my kudos to my tree stand hang and hunt setup, the XOP, the muddy climbing sticks, all that. Kudos to that, because I would not have been able to do that. I would not have been able to set up in that tree with a homemade tree stand, or even just a bought 18-pound muddy hang and hunt stand, or not really hang and hunt, but a stationary stand, ladder stand. Really would not have worked. So I really needed that hang and hunt stand. It was a small tree, and so we went in. We cut down the brush, cut out shooting lanes for my bow, and September, before we knew it, September was upon us. And at the time I was working, so I couldn't hunt in the morning. I was really concerned because we were starting to get less and less pictures of Tall Boy, and the pictures that we were getting of Tall Boy was in the morning, and I couldn't hunt in the morning because I had work. But I got off at 3:30 every day, so I could hunt the evenings. So I really jumped on that opportunity. I sat opening day, or no, I didn't sat opening day. I sat September 7th was the first night I sat. And some people ask me, well, why did you sit in September? Well, in September, I really didn't know if this buck was going to be around. I was getting pictures of him on the property, so I knew I had to just jump on the opportunity as soon as I could. So September comes around. September 7th, I see a couple does, some fawns, nothing really, no bucks. September 8th comes around. I see one small buck, same sets of does and fawns that I had previously seen. I've gotten dozens of trail camera pictures of them. And then September 9th rolls around, and at this time it dropped down to like 40 degrees at night. So it was a cold front in September. So it wasn't as hot as it typically is, but it was colder. I had to wear a heavy jacket, otherwise I was going to be cold, and it was a little bit breezier out. I go through the whole hunt, only seeing a couple deer, a couple dozen fawns, a whole group of turkeys, and getting towards the end of the night, I seen two bucks out of the corner of my eye come from the tree line further north. So further down the tree line, so further down the cornfield, I seen 2 deer come out of the back of my eye, out of the corner of my eye, and I could tell one was really big. So I figured it was probably tall boy, but they bolted straight into the corn, so I figured, well, I probably won't get a shot at them tonight, considering they'll be eating in the corn all night. Well, I was actually texting my good buddy Ethan Tramp, my partner in crime, partner of J&T Outdoors, so Ethan Tramp, and he told me, well, that they could easily circle around towards you, so be ready. And you know, I thought, yeah, that's very true. They could do that. So fast forward 10 minutes later, all of a sudden I hear this rustling coming in the cornfield, and the doe comes out sprinting out. A doe comes sprinting out, and another small buck comes sprinting out, and all I could see is tall boy's rack coming out of the corn stalks, just running on a dead. It wasn't a full sprint, but it was a good trot. So I quick stand up, pull my bow back. I'm pulling my bow back as he's coming across my face. I yell at him. I go, man, as I'm pulling back, and I rushed the shot because it happened so fast. So I pull back, man, shoot. It was centered good, but it was back. So I knew it wasn't the best shot. But I was so hyped and excited that I got a shot on him and I knew he was gonna die. I knew it was gonna be a fatal shot, but it was back, and I knew I was gonna have to give him time. But it happened so quickly. Looking back, I could have took my time a little more on my shot. I don't think he was going to keep running off, but at the time, it was so bang bang with him running out of the corn across my face, running after those deer. So I called up all my buddies, and I told them, and I was really excited. I was like, oh yeah, I shot him. The shot's back. I know it is. I'm going to give him a night. I'm going to give him the night to just make sure, because I didn't want to chase him. I knew if I chased him, bumped him out of his bed, he could go a long ways and possibly not recover this deer. So we got down. I just trailed the blood only to the tree line, and then I quit. We come back in the morning. I took a day off of work. My dad and I, we followed his blood trail. It's a good steady blood trail for probably 200 yards, and he had bedded down in this small group of this brushy tree stubble stuff, and he bedded down a couple times in there, and he actually went across a low-lying fence. It was a crappy old fence, and went into this CRP in the neighboring property. So, not wanting to risk trespassing, my dad went back to work, and I drove to the landowner's house. Now, the landowner, he allowed me. I knocked on the door. He was very friendly. He allowed me to go. I said, hey, my dear, I've got good blood going into your ground, over the fence into your CRP, and I think you won't be far in there. And he's like, go ahead, go find your deer. So I was so stoked about that. I go back, I cross the fence, and no more than 20 yards over the fence in the CRP, just far enough to where my dad and I could not see him. Here he is laying dead. And at that time, the landowner came out with his ATV. I was so stoked, so excited. And the landowner was very, very nice about it. He helped me load it up in the back of his ATV. Otherwise, I was going to have to drag him 200 yards through this very deep ravine up a very steep hill. So he drove it back to my truck, and the landowner and I have stayed in touch. We've built a very good relationship, actually, and he's allowing me to put a food plot on his property this year and hunt. So I was very thankful for that. It was like a blessing in disguise, actually. Through this deer, I got another property. So we got the deer, and he measured I believe it was 140 in total growth, and it was 136 in deduction. It was 139 in total growth, 136 in total deduction, with total deductions in. So it was right on the edge of a deer that I wouldn't mount, or I would mount. It was right on the edge of that. So I had to make the decision, and I decided to mount it because it had these characteristics, these features in its fur and its hide. It had very, very short hair since it was right after its summer coat. It was just shedding its summer coat. Had a very red, vivid forehead, and had long strands of red hair all along his neck and his shoulders from that summer coat that he was still shedding. So because of that, I decided I wanted to mount this deer because the characteristics of its fur was just so cool that I wanted to preserve that. And it was a good buck. I was incredibly happy with it. I was so stoked. Biggest buck I had ever shot, with my bow too on top of it. Scouted it on top of that. Had over 100 trail camera pictures of this deer. So we mounted it, we got it home, and it looks absolutely amazing. Going forward now into the 2021 hunting season, we have a couple upcoming bucks. We'll be looking at Bush if he's back on property. We got a bunch of other bucks that have high potential of blowing up. So we will see. It's going to be a good year, I know that. We've already got rocks out. I'll be putting trail cameras on them at the end of May, early June. And we'll see what bucks we can get. I know Ethan Tramp's got an archery tag. He possibly has a rifle tag as well in Nebraska. His shoulder surgery, he'll be recovered enough to where he can hunt. So we're going to get him on board. We're going to film a lot of his hunts. We're going to get him a very nice deer, hopefully. I know he's got a ton of potential over there with his food plot and his hunting spots, and we're really stoked about getting some Nebraska deer filmed. It's been quite the off season already. We didn't film the previous year because we hadn't made J&T Outdoors yet, but this year, going forward, we're really gonna gun for it hard and gonna film as much as we can. So that is the story of Tall Boy in a nutshell. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Like, comment, subscribe. We always got stuff coming out. I didn't get a couple videos out the last couple weeks just because we were just so busy with work, both Ethan and I. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned and peace.